Hey guys, Caitlin and Ethan, live from game one here in Sunrise of the Stanley Cup final. What a game we saw tonight. We had Sergei Bobrovsky in goal. He had 32 saves, did not let a single goal in. Final score was 3-0. Panthers, Carter Verhaeghe got the Cats on the board early in the first. Evan Rodriguez got that second goal lead for the Panthers early in the second. And then we had an empty net goal from Eetu Luostarinen at the end of the game. What did you like about this team tonight?
Well, first thing, it's better pronunciation than I would have done. Well, I mean, here's the thing: the Panthers got outplayed and won, and that's what you take out of this. You know, there have been a couple of games I've felt in this run to the finals that Bob outplayed the other goalie significantly. This was another of those, and I think you heard it in the post-game press conferences where essentially the Oilers coach, Panthers saying, "Look, Panthers didn't play their best game tonight." They won anyway because Bob was just superior to what was on the other side. And he did get some help. They were able to clear some pucks away. There weren't a whole bunch of crazy chances. But again, the shot differential, you can't get away from it. And the Panthers have outshot the majority of their opponents during this postseason run. So this was an anomaly. I think they were kind of getting a feel for Edmonton tonight. I was impressed. The Verhaeghe goal. Yes, the Rodriguez goal, though, I thought really turned this thing because that changed the whole dynamic of it. You had Edmonton kind of playing from behind the rest of the game after that. So, I mean, Kalen, I think, look, this Edmonton team is not as, in my view, is not as good as the Vegas team they played last year. And they were able to control McDavid enough. So I think you got to feel pretty good. I mean, if you're a Panther fan, they finally got a 1-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals. That hasn't happened before. They got another one coming up Monday night, and I think they'll play better Monday night than they did tonight.
I think it's very obvious which team is acting like they've been here before.
Yeah.
And that this Panthers team this year, just, we've seen them so good in the last couple of years, but this team is different. I've said it since last year. They're going to come back with a vengeance, and they're just so good top to bottom. But you're right, they did get outplayed tonight. Goaltending does win championships, and I think that they're very lucky. Sergei Bobrovsky was playing out of his mind tonight. 32-15. Alex and I were saying earlier, Edmonton did win a playoff game. I forget which game.
10 shots.
12.
Well, 12, yeah. 12 shots. I mean, McDavid had that ridiculous shot. And you aren't going to typically win a lot of games when you get outshot by that much. No. But again, I didn't think that the chances, the really quality chances, were that different. Although Bob had some key saves at key times, particularly early. Because, again, on your home ice, game one of a Stanley Cup final, with what happened to the Panthers last year where they fell behind in that final and never really kind of made up. Here's the difference I see between last year and this year of the opponent. The Panthers looked out of gas by the time that they got to the finals last year against Vegas. Mm-hmm. This year, they still look fresh. Again, not their best game tonight, but they're rolling more players on their lines now. I think they had more depth than they had overall last year. And their top guys have taken turns carrying the team this year, whether it's been Barkov or Reinhart or Tkachuk or at times Verhaeghe. Lundell's had his moments too. So there's just more there's more depth to this roster. I think it's a better team, and I just think they're the best team in hockey this year, and I think that's going to play out in this series.
To go off of what you said, when I was in New York in March, where they played at Madison Square Garden, they had 6 or 7 of their best players out with injuries, and they were still able to take the Rangers, who won the President's Trophy this year, to a double overtime. Right. And I knew in that moment that they're just so deep in their talent. And Carter Verhaeghe tonight in the press conference did say, last year was the first time a lot of guys in this room had been to a Stanley Cup final. By the time we got there, we were, just, like you said, absolutely gassed, just riddled with injuries. And this year I just sense more of a calmness in the room. Paul Maurice, 30 years of coaching, he actually made a joke in the beginning of the press conference tonight because his son won a ring with the Florida Everblades tonight. He was like, wow, my son's been in pro hockey for 2 years and he has 2 rings. So this is going to be a point of contention at the dinner table.
And he said it too, Kalen. He said, look, I got to get one. And I think that's where they're at right now. Like he's got to get one. Like he and Zito and Vinny Viola, they've changed the course of this franchise. The franchise, there was talk about relocation 5 or 6 years ago, and now they have a 1-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals. So we'll see what happens on Monday night. Kalen's going to be back here. I'll be watching from afar, so I can't jinx it. But
I want your opinion because you mentioned Bill Zito and what he's been able to do with this team and a franchise that was looking at relocation 5 to 6 years ago. Look at what he's done with the room that he had when we were here in 2022, May of 2022. Florida won the President's Trophy that year. They got knocked out second round by Tampa Bay. And we thought that was a really good team because it was the best that had ever been in South Florida at that time. And when he made all those offseason trades, there was a lot of questioning of, oh, did he mess up a good thing? What he was able to pull in the offseason, even now, and I spoke to him at the draft at Nashville last year. What have you been most impressed with?
Well, I think the risk taking. I mean, you mentioned it. It's not often that somebody will trade someone who was on course to maybe be the leading scorer in franchise history to get a chance to get better, and that's what he did with Kachuk. But also, they address needs. He's addressed needs at the deadlines. Obviously, adding Tarasenko this year to add to more depth. They added to his strength there. And then again, the trust in Bob. We've talked for a couple of years here about how that contract didn't look so great. It looks better now. Obviously, give Bob a lot of credit for that. I never thought 2 years ago when people were calling for Bob to get removed or Spencer Knight to replace him, that you would have people today, not just the Bob chants here, but up and down the escalators tonight, chanting Bob's name.
Bobby.
Bobby.
The Bobby chants
It's honestly one of the great kind of, I don't know, like a recovery type stories in South Florida sports history. So it's been pretty amazing what happened. He was the story tonight. See what happens on Monday night, but they're in pretty good shape.
And Ethan, while I have you here, because you won't be here on Monday night,
Yes.
you have been a South Florida sports staple for so many years. What do you think a good hockey team has done for the culture in South Florida?
Well, I mean, I think obviously people have rallied around this team. I live in Fort Lauderdale. I live across from the Iceplex, so I've been there. My daughter skates, so we've done the watch parties there. It has changed the dynamic in a lot of ways. They've become Broward's team. Which is what they wanted to do. I mean, this thing has all come together at the right time for them. They also have the advantage right now of the Heat being out in the first round, so they have the stage
They've
themselves.
all the attention.
The Marlins are a not-factor, probably eternally, and then beyond that, Dolphins just finished. Although Mike McDaniel here banged the drum, but the Dolphins just finished.
That's electric.
That minicamp, yes, and Alonzo Mourning for Game 2. I don't know. Maybe they can get Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, or Expulsure to come for Game 7. But I don't. At this point, I'm saying I said Panthers in 5 before the series, so I don't know that there's going to be a Game 7. If there is a Game 5, I'll be there for that. So.
I say Panthers in 6.
All right, that's fair. I said Panthers in 6 last round.
I hope it's Panthers. I said Panthers in 7 last round. I hope it's Panthers in 7 because how cool would that be to win it here at home? 5 or 7 would be great.
Just get it over with in 5.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to Caitlin. Alex is leaving the building. So are we. Check out
bedtime.
5reasonsports.com. Have a good one, everybody.